Yeah, I'm on. I'm on.
Benji, are you on?
Yeah.
I'm off.
Everybody heard the siyum?
No, I didn't hear no team.
צריך תרגום.
Parrot, you finished the siyum?
Oh, why don't you do the CM for the Rambam?
I'm saying ask Parrot Davison to do it, but it wasn't so clear. Maybe after the shir we'll do it.
Yeah, very good. Okay, I'm well happy to see everyone, Baruch Hashem.
Oh, I was going to see Rabbi Lerner.
How is everyone feeling?
ברוך השם, רבי אלנה, שבוע טוב.
Baruch Hashem.
Wait,
Shavua
come
tov.
on.
Shavua tov.
שבוע טוב ומבורך.
Amen. Amen.
עלינו ועל כל עם ישראל.
Amen. So tonight we're coming up very close to Shavous, faster than we think. Like to discuss
What
some.
about Shavous HaDibros? We got to hear the Shavous HaDibros.
That's right. You have to hear the Sedes Hadibris.
But there's no menyonim.
It looks like you know they're saying that maybe there'll be some lightening of restrictions for Shavuos.
Only for upstate.
Only upstate.
The
Huh?
governor said only upstate. Thank you. Let's take the whole Crown Heights and Borough Park and
Let's be positive.
Okay.
We have 2 weeks and everything will change, Be'ezrat Hashem.
Amen. Amen. Yeah.
A week, not even 2 weeks.
Week. Yeah. A week.
Next
and a half.
Thursday, huh?
Next Thursday night, yeah. Next
Yes,
Thursday
we
night.
have 2 weeks.
Yeah.
No, mixed. Yeah. What's a geshen?
You know,
Okay.
we talk about Zman Matan Torah Seinu is interesting. It says that even la'asalave, when we will have when there'll be what a Torah Chadasha Me'iti Teitze, a new Torah, when Mashiach will teach us a new Torah, but Lamaisa, there will not be another Matan Torah. The Matan Torah that we had on Shavuos, that was the only Matan Torah we're going to have. All other Torah, even the Torah which Mashiach will be Megala, is all somehow included embedded in the original Torah that we received at Matan Torah. So in a way, there's no real chidushim. It's a chiddush for us because we are now going to find out about all these different special things in the Torah. But in reality, these are all deeply embedded in the Torah. And Mashiach will bring it out and show it to us, but it will be mamash like a chiddush. It will be like an ultimate chiddush, as if it wasn't there. Like we never would have figured this out without it. And it will be a mamash a Torah chadasha. So with all the great giluyim, Matan Torah Shavuos is only one time. It's not going to happen again. There was one giving of the Torah. You know, there's an expression in Chassidus Chabad that like Ba'omer is the Matan Torah of Pnimius HaTorah, of Kabbalah. But also, again, that expression doesn't mean that literally Shimon Bar Yochai and the Kabbalah that had its own Matan Torah. It just meant that was its time when it was revealed. But Matan Torah that happened in the year 2448, everything was included there. Kabbalah and even the Torah Shel Mashiach. It says in Medrash that when it says in the beginning of Kehelas, Hevel, Havolim, it's referring to the Torah of nowadays. That the Torah of nowadays compared to Torah Shel Mashiach is like Hevel. It's like nothing in compared to what's going to be revealed then. But even though it will be such an enormous amount of Torah and such soidis, Saf Kol Saf, it's something which is embedded and originates from our Torah itself. And Mashiach will reveal it and show it to our eyes. Now, Shavuos is interesting. The Torah calls Shavuos the name Atzeres. Atzeres means Itzru Eschem Malacha, hold back and refrain from Malacha. To be oitzer someone, hold back.
So
now the Barditchever, Levi Yitzchak Barditchev, in his Sefer Kedushas Levi, questions why is this Chag called Atzeres, specifically only with the name Atzeres in the Torah. So he explains that all other Yamim Tovim have something unique about it. There's something more than just not doing malacha. There's other mitzvahs associated with it, like the mitzvah of eating matzah on Pesach, Sipi Yitzis Mitzrayim, not to eat chametz, Pesach, Basukas Teishvu, taking the Dalet Minim. Every Yom Tiv has its mitzvahs associated with it.
Rabbi Lerner, we don't
Can't hear you. We can't hear you, Rabbi. We can't hear you. No, not yet. Not yet.
Sorry, no.
Oh, you hear me now?
Yeah, now we hear you.
That was good.
Where did I get cut off?
I don't know who you were talking.
How long was I talking for?
1 second, 1 second. You got off by why this holiday doesn't have any name. We don't do anything. Pesach, we do matzah.
Okay. We didn't miss much. So Atzeres is a Yom Tif. The Torah calls it Shavuos Atzeres because all that it is not to do malacha. We don't have any other unique mitzvahs associated with Matan Torah. We have different minhagim. We have the cheesecake, and we stay up at night, different things. But that is all not mitzvahs asayim in our Torah. Things that are in the Torah itself tells us to do on Atzeres. So therefore, the Torah calls it with the name Atzeres because the ikar is not doing malacha. Now, another interesting thing about Shavous is that we know Shavous is celebrating Matan Torah, and it's the 50th day since we left Mitzrayim. Tisbru Chamishim Yoim, the 50th day is Shavous, and that was what the Yidden were counting for when they left Mitzrayim. When are they going to be able to receive the Torah? It was a countdown. Our Lamaisa, the Gemara Chazal tell us in Shabbos that Matan Torah happened on Vav Sivan. It happened on Vav Sivan, Matan Torah. Now, if we make the calculation, nowadays Vav Sivan and Shavuos always coincide. The day of the month, Vav Sivan, and 50 days from Shavuos always coincide. It's Vav Sivan. It's always the same day. However, in the times when the Torah, in the times when there was a Sanhedrin, when there was no Luach, and they were Mekadesh al Pi Hariyah, when it was based on the sighting of the moon, Eidim would come and tell the, give over Eidos to the Sanhedrin of the sighting of the new moon. And then there was the Bezdin would, Sanhedrin would say, Mekudesh, Mekudesh, they Mekadesh the new Chodesh. So Lamaisa at that time, Shavuos would not necessarily be on Vav Sivan. The Gemara says in Rosh Hashanah, Pa'amim Behei, Pa'amim Bavav, Pa'amim Zayin. Sometimes Rosh Hashanah can fall on Hey, Shavuos can fall on Hey, on Vav, or on Zayin. Because why? Because it depends how many days the month of Nisan had and the month of Iyar. The way our calendar is set up now, Nisan is always a Chodesh Malei, means 30 days. Iyar is always a Chodesh Chasa, 29 days. So the way we have it now, if you count 50 days from 16th day of Nisan, you're always going to end up on 6th of Sivan, and Matan Torah Shavuos coincides with the date on the calendar when Matan Torah occurred, like Chazal tell us on Vav Sivan, Shisha B'Sivan. However, L'maisa, when they were Mekadesh al Pi Hariyah, things could have been different. Nisan could have been, it would be a Chodesh Chaser, missing a day, meaning it would only be it would only be 29 days Nisan. So when you're counting 50 days, you're missing a day because you're missing Lamed Nisan. You're going to have to count an extra day in Sivan to reach to the 50th day. Means the 50th day is going to be Zayin Sivan. So Shavuos in those years, when Nisan would be a Chodesh Chaser, Alpi the Bez Sanhedrin, Shavuos would be on Zayin Sivan. Would come out that Vav Sivan, which is the actual date when the Matan Torah happened, is a day is Erev Shavuos. It's not on the day, not coinciding with Shavuos. So it comes out that the Torah told us a certain Yom Tif of Shavuos. This Yom Tif will not necessarily coincide with the day of Matan Torah of Vav Sivan, because there are two different calculations. Vav Sivan is a day on the month. We always know it's Vav Sivan. However, Shavuos is not dependent on the day of the month. It's 50 days from Matan Torah. Tisbru Chamishim. You have to know if you have 50 days. If you the 50th day, that's when the Yom Tov is. Shavuos does not have any day on the calendar. Torah did not tell us it's on Vav Sivan always. It's taken not. It wasn't always on Vav Sivan. It was sometimes on Hey. It was sometimes on Vav. Sometimes on Zayin, depending on how the calendar was set up. That's how the 50 days would land up. So it wouldn't always coincide with the date of when Matan Torah occurred. Now, before we gave an example how Shavuos would occur on Zayin Sivan, let's give an example how Shavuos would occur on Hey Sivan. If Nisan would be 30-day month, a Chodesh Mali, like it is today, and Iyar would be also a Chodesh Mali, a 30-day month, not like today. So they both would be 30 days. So you would have an extra day to count, because now it's Nisan is a Chaser, a Mali, and Iyar is a Chaser. So it always falls on Vav. But if both were Mali, so you had extra day, Iyar is a Mali, a 30 days. So I count Lamed Iyar as one of these of Sfiras Omer. By the time I reach Hey Sivan, I already have 50 days. Hey Sivan is the 50th day, and Dalet Sivan will be Erev Shavuos. Dalet Sivan, Hey Sivan is the first day of Shavuos, the second day of Shavuos is Vav Sivan. So it's something strange. Definitely is strange. But the Alter Rebbe points out in the beginning that even though this is strange, but Lamaisa, the Torah does not connect. We don't find in the Chumash anywhere where the Torah said that Shavuos has to fall in Torah. Not only do we not find that it has to fall on the date of Matan Torah, we don't find explicitly in the Torah that Shavuos has anything to do with Matan Torah. So we know, as everyone as a child knows, every child in the street knows, that Shavuos and Matan Torah are interrelated. They're like synonymous. It's in the Torah itself. It's really not that way. It never said that Shavuos has anything to do with Matan Torah clearly. Chazal tell us that the reason why we don't find Chet mentioned, Kapara mentioned by Shavuos is because the Torah is Nesinas HaTorah is Mechaper, because Shavuos is connected to the Matan Torah. All other Yom Tovim, it mentions the inyan of Kapara. When it comes to Shavuos, we don't find in the Torah because Matan Torah is Mechaper. We don't need to mention any Kapara. So there's hints in different Ramazim, but there's no clear-cut pasuk which it says that Shavuos has to be a Matan Torah. And the reason why we say Zman Matan Torah Seinu in our Tefillah, in Shemona Esrei, is because according to our calendar that we're using for the past 2,000 years, Matan Torah and Shavuos do coincide. Since they do coincide, we do indeed say that Shavuos is Zman Matan Torah Seinu because I'm Vav Sivan. Now, that's an interesting thing, and it's something a little bit difficult to understand. Why is it this way? Seemingly, Shavuos is commemorating Matan Torah, but not necessarily falls on the same day. It's something really that we need to understand. The interesting, the Lubavitcher Rebbe points that this, according to his opinion, this concept of Shavuos falling out on a different day than Matan Torah was not only shaykh in the days of Sanhedrin, it's shaykh today. He felt that if anyone crosses the Kav HaTayrich, the date line, the halachic date line, which there is a machlokes as to exactly where the halachic date line is. One opinion actually positions it somewhere relatively near where the international dateline happens to be. But all agree it's somewhere in the Pacific Ocean. And if you cross the dateline, depending which way you cross, you either lose a day or you gain a day. And I think if you go to Australia, you lose a day. And if you come here, from Australia to here, you gain a day. And you leave over there on a Tuesday, you'll come back and you'll come here and it'll still be Tuesday because you crossed the date line. So you went back a day. On the other hand, if you go from here to Australia, you are, let's say you left here Monday, you will arrive there Wednesday because you have traveling time. And then there is, when you cross the date line, you automatically enter into on the other side of the date line to a new time zone. The date changes automatically. You're on the plane. They tell you, I've been to Australia, and they tell you that now it's, let's say it's Monday, 12 o'clock. Now it's going to be Tuesday, 12 o'clock. So it changes, and you are missing a day. So the Rebbe held that because you're missing a day, you're missing a me'es la'es, a sundown and a sunset of Svidus Oimer, and you have to have 50 days. And the Rebbe held that the counting of the Oimer was a personal count of Svartim Lechem. That Kol Yachid v'Yachid, every person has to make an individual count. It's like a Svir of Anida. Anida counts her own individual count of 7 days to when she's Tahir. She cannot say, look at her neighbor, where her neighbor's count is holding. She has to keep her own private cheshbon. The same thing as a Svidus Oimer. The Rebbe learned Pshat that the Lamdus is every person has his own personal count as to when the 50th day is. So since by this person who went over the Svidus Oimer, he has a different date, he missed a day or he gained a day, he's going to have to make up for it. So if he's coming from Australia to New York, for example, and he's going to gain a day, then you're going to have already another day under your belt, which you counted Sphira, and you're going to come to New York, you're going to be ahead of New York. So you're counting, let's say, you're on the plane, it's Monday night, you count Monday night Sphira Soimer, you're traveling, and you cross the date line, you go back to Sunday night, and you go back in the day. Let's say you go Monday into the day, you go back to Sunday, Monday afternoon, you go back to Sunday afternoon. That night, you're again hitting Monday night. So you're once again hitting the night again, and you have to count Svira again. So you count Svira because you have another night. By the time you come to New York, you're a day ahead of the whole New York.
But does you have to count it with the bracha again? Or without a bracha? Because you made the bracha on that day already.
So the question is, what does it mean a day? So the Rebbe held you don't look at a day as the days of the week or the days of the month. You look at a day as you're counting. I had now another zricha, another shkia. I had another sun, another sunset. For me, it's a new day. I have now a new day by me. So I count that day with a bracha. I count the next sfira. Not I go back. I count the next sfira. And I'm already now ahead of the Oilam in New York. By the time my Hey Sivan comes, Hey Sivan for me is the 50th day. And he held that Svidus, not only Svidus Oimer, you should continue counting your own personal count, regardless of what everyone else around you is doing. But he even held that Shavous should also be kept that way. You should keep a different date Shavous. This was considered a very big chiddush, and it was very difficult for the Oilam to accept it. So many other poskim did not accept it as a shita. But all the Bavitcher Hasidim follow the shita of the Rebbe, and in such cases would follow these guidelines. The Maisa, the Rebbe himself told people many times not to do it. He did not want people bringing himself into such a matziv. Not because he said he has doubt in his psak. He felt very confident about his psak. And Elamai, he felt that it looks strange. It's a strange thing to go and keep a different day Shavuos than the people around you. And therefore, he felt that you should not do things which are milsa de tmiya. It's something mudna, it's something strange. So he did not want people traveling. But in case of a Shasas Chak where someone needed to travel, in such a case, a Lubavitcher Chassid would keep a different day, Shavous, in these cases. And by the way, I want to point out two other things. A few points. First of all, Reb Zevin, the Mechaber and Saikib Talmudis and Sipuri Chasidim, famous of Shlomo Zevin, Eretz Yisrael, he was a Chabad Chassid, a very big goin, and he wrote to the Rebbe that this is a major chiddush what the Rebbe is saying. So the Rebbe told him that you're right, it's a big chiddush, but it's a chiddush what says. It's just a chiddush what it says in the Torah. This is what it says. Read the psukim. It's a very strange phenomenon, but read the Torah. This is what comes out when you have international dateline. We never had international dateline shaylas amol, so this wasn't thought about. But says the Rebbe, this is the Metzias. So this is a very interesting view. I know Rabbi Blumenkrantz, Olav Shalom, in his Pesach Digest, in the back, he has so many different halachas, which he sticks in over there, and I think they still publish it that way. So he actually passed him like the Rebbe. But although later on, there was certain tinus, there was someone in Lakewood, a Talmud Chacham, who wrote him, how could he write like the Rebbe? The Rebbe is a Das Yachid. So the ending, he changed the ending of it where he wrote that although this is like what he feels, everyone should ask their poisik. So that was a chiddush of the Rebbe in this area. So by the way, those people who do come to New York, obviously with a Rav who tells them that they're allowed to do it because the Rebbe himself told people not to do it. But in such a case where someone did do it, and he starts the Shavuos Hey, Erev Shavuos is his Shavuos. So Hey and Vav, Zayin is already by him Isur Chag. But Zayin Sivan is Isur Chag. The whole Oilam is still Yom Tov over here. Everyone's keeping the second day Yom Tov. By him it's Isur Chag. The halacha is in Shulchan Aruch, you're not allowed to do malacha. It's like someone who comes from Chutz La'aretz. Someone from Eretz Yisrael is here. In Chutz La'aretz, he's not allowed to do malacha because you are in Chutz La'aretz. You have to take on the minig, that the minig hamakim is to not to do a minig, not to do malacha. So even though you're from Eretz Yisrael, you're not allowed to do malacha in Chutz La'aretz.
But he has to put on tefillin.
He has to put on tefillin. He has to put on tefillin, and he has to daven. He has to daven tefillas choil. And
but
however,
but Hessi, he doesn't do anything that he shouldn't.
Right. He's not allowed to. He's not allowed to do any malacha. He does Havdalah privately for himself. He makes Havdalah, and.
Remind me the story you said last year or 2 years ago that the guy told the Rebbe good Yom Tov, then the Rebbe turned around.
Yeah. Let me tell you over. Yeah, let me repeat over the story. First of all, the Rebbe Shita, the first time he mentioned the Shita was in a letter he wrote before he was Rebbe. He wrote in 1949. He wrote a long letter to a chassid of Itzal Wolshansky. It was a Russian chassid who, for many years, was after they left Russia, was in France. And the Frierdiker Rebbe, most of the chassidim, after they left Russia, they were in DP camps in Germany. It was after the war. And from the DP camps, they went to France. In France, they would wait, and the Frierdiker Rebbe would instruct them where they should move in the world. And the Frierdiker Rebbe would tell them, go to Eretz Yisrael, go to the United States, go here. And the Frierdiker Rebbe sent a group to Australia. And one of the chassidim he sent there was a yid named Betzalel Wolshansky. The Wolshansky family today all comes from this Betzalel Wolshansky. So there was a group of chassidim that came there. And Betzalel Wolshansky seemingly had written a letter to the Rebbe, trying to understand what is happening over here with the dateline and with Shabbos, and he wrote a letter to the Rebbe. Maybe he wrote it to the Frierdiker Rebbe, but it seems like the Rebbe answered. There were times the Frierdiker Rebbe referred certain shilas and halacha and nigla. He sent them to his son-in-law, who was known as a big goyin, that the Rebbe should answer these shilas. It's not clear. It doesn't say over here that he was asked by the Frierdiker Rebbe answer, but it could be assumed that it's possible that this is what happened. not necessarily was this El Chassid writing specifically to the Rebbe. Although in some cases that was the case, but in other cases it's very possible the Frierdiker Rebbe had sent this letter to the Rebbe to respond. Lamaisa, the Rebbe writes back to him in Tashin Test 1949, a long letter talking all about the date line and about when Shabbos should be kept. And we know this is a big shaila during the war when the Bachar were in Japan. When should they keep Shabbos? Where does the date halachic date line? On which side of Japan is it? There was many shilas that came up. So he had discussions of shilas. In the middle, the Rebbe mentioned to him the shilah Sfiras Omer. And the Rebbe says that it's a doubt by him, by Sfiras Omer, if you go, you're supposed to count like the local people, or you're supposed to keep your personal count. So that was the first inference to the Rebbe that he had this idea in his head about this chiddush. But although it remained in a suffix, later years it was clarified by the Rebbe that he held this way, and he made it clear that this was his shita. He took a side; it wasn't anymore a suffix. They started off with the year 1958. This is again travel is very, very uncommon. It's someone from Australia should travel and should specifically be traveling during the days of Sfira. Highly, highly uncommon those days. But in 1958, Chaim Sobransky, who was also a son of one of the Elter Chassidim, who was also sent by the Frierdiker Rebbe to Australia. He was a young Bacher. He came to learn in Yeshiva in 770, and he arrived there in the middle of Sfiras HaOmer. And he asked the Rebbe what to do since he had crossed the date line. He came on a boat and he traveled. And the Rebbe told him at that point he should hear, first of all, when he gave Sfiras HaOmer, he should count both Sfiras, and he should hear the bracha from someone else. In regards to Shavous, Itaka thinks he should keep his own Shavous, but he doesn't want to say it on his own. He wants that you should, that a bezdin of Rabbanim should paskin the shaila, and he gave it back to the bezdin. But he said, my own opinion is that you should keep your own personal Shavuos. It should be hey Sivan and Vav Sivan, because you gained the day when you came from Australia to here. That was in 1958. A little while later, maybe like 2-3 years later, the Rebbe held a clear public sicha where he clarified his opinion and he made it clear with different rayas to his shita that he held that you keep your own sfira and your own shvuas, and there's no suffix about it at all. And he edited the sicha, and it was published, and that what became history for that. So now there was a story before the sicha came out publicly. So Rabbi Yoel Khan, the Rebbe's famous Chayzer, Hagoyin Achas Rabbi Yoel Khan, Zol Zayin Gesund, he had a guest staying by him from Eretz Yisrael for Shavuos. This is somewhere in the late 1950s. And the guest, the middle of the meal, the night of Shavuos, that year was a Kviyas actually it was Shabbos, Sunday, Monday. Sunday, Monday was Shavuos, and it was Shabbos was Erev Shavuos. So it was Leil Shabbos. It wasn't yet Shavuos. It was Leil Shabbos. It's a 3-day Yom Tiv. Leil Shabbos, having the Shabbos meal in his house, and the guest, while he's talking about his trips from Eretz Yisrael, he says the way how he came from Eretz Yisrael to the United States, he had flown to Japan first. He was through Japan, or on a boat. So the Rabbi Yoel realized that he had heard that the Rebbe had a sheet about this, and although the Rebbe hadn't clearly spoken about it, he told his guest that you have an issue over here because according to your count, you went over the date line, and really tonight, which is Leil Shabbos, Leil Hey Sivan, Erev Shavuos, is really already Shavuos for you. So he said to him, right now, you're going to be Soymech on me. I'm telling you right now that you should go make Kiddush again and say over Kiddush with Yom Tif. And tomorrow we're going to wait by the Rebbe's room, and we're going to find out from the Rebbe what to do. So the next day he took this guest and he brought him outside the Rebbe's room. And when the Rebbe is going to come up from davening, we're going to stand over there, and he's just going to tell the Rebbe 2 words. He told him, just tell the Rebbe, Batim Yapan. It's an Israeli, Batim Yapan. I have arrived from Japan. That's all you need to tell the Rebbe, and the Rebbe will understand. So he stood there in the thing and he told the Rebbe, Bati mi Japan. The Rebbe immediately said to him, Good Shabbos and Good Yom Tif. Now the guest was very startled, but the Rebbe Yoel told him, you have a psak already. The Rebbe told you Good Yom Tif. He told me you arrived from Japan. The Rebbe immediately told him, it's Yom Tif for you, Good Shabbos, Good Yom Tif. Anyways, then the Rebbe went to his room. He was opening up his door, and he turned around and he wished him Kabbalas HaTorah v'Simcha v'Pnimis. Anyways, later that day, the Rebbe sent out his secretary of Chodakov. He should find Rabbi Yoel and call him in. Rabbi Yoel came into the Rebbe's room, and the Rebbe told him that regarding this Yid, that L'chura, he needs to make, since he was from Eretz Yisrael, he keeps only one day Yom Tif. So actually, that Shabbos was his only Yom Tif. It was Shabbos, Hey Sivan, it was Shavous a Yom Tif for him, because he was from Eretz Yisrael. So he said that night he should make Havdalah, he told him. Then he told him that he should put on tefillin the next day, because it's not Yom Tif for him. He's from Eretz Yisrael, he keeps one day, and his Yom Tif is a day earlier, because he came over the date line. So Rabbi Yoel asked, and should he make with a bracha? Meaning, is it is a take 100%? Should he make with a bracha? So the Rebbe said to him, he paused, and the Rebbe said, "Wie bald ich halt, as das sein, as ich nicht Shavous, darf machen mit a bracha? Should make with a bracha." So that's what happened, and that was something that.
What's the Rebbe answer in Yiddish?
He told him, "Good Shabbos, Good Yom Tif." He told him it's.
But that's in the beginning, the second time.
Yeah, he told him since I hold that it's not Yom Tif, you should make a bracha. Like the Rebbe made a cheshbon to him. He was working it out. It was still in the beginning. He said only later did the Rebbe come out with a clear sicha about it. But Rabbi Yoel already knew that the Rebbe had given certain directives to people privately, so he heard some things, so he knew about it. But it wasn't a thing which is known to the public. So there's many, many discussions about the Shita of the Rebbe back and forth in many different koiftzim. There's a lot of discussions about it. There's a lot of discussion. When should you have the cheesecake? And when should you stay up at night? And when should you lay in the Aseres Hadibris? Which day? Because if let's say you come from Australia to here and you start Yom Tov Hey Sivan, so your day of Matan Torah is the next day, Vav Sivan. Vav Sivan. So when do you read your Aseres Hadibris? If you have a minyan, when do you hear Aseres Hadibris? If you have a million of Australians, should you read on Hey Sivan Aseres Hadibris like we do every Yom Tif the first day? Or should we do it the second day because that's the day of Matan Torah? Your second day Yom Tif is Vav Sivan, day of Matan Torah. That will leave up to the different Rabbanim to pass in the Shaila. Okay, Lamaisa Adkam and again this discussion. And today's days nothing changes. 50th day is always on Vav Sivan, and that's when it is. La'asalave, this can occur again. Well, Makada Shapi Hariyah, once again we can have this discussion. We'll have that Shavous will be able to fall out in different days than the actual date of Matan Torah, which again, not for the discussion this year, requires a lot of understanding as to why the Shavous rotates and was not necessarily fall out on the actual date of Matan Torah, which is a tzarich bir.
Rabbi, where was reading about the Moshiach when he come give us a new Torah?
The pasuk says it's a pasuk, Torah chadasha meiti teitze. Torah chadasha meiti teitze will come out from Hashem during the time of Mashiach. The Medrash says that when Mashiach will come, the Shor Habar and the Levyasan will have a fight, and the Levyasan will shecht the Shor Habar, which is fins, with its fin. So the Medrash says, how could this be? Why? How could such a shechita be a kasher shechita? So the Medrash says, quotes the pasuk, Torah chadasha meiti teitze.
Where is written that?
I have to look it up. Maybe in Yeshaya.
It's not in the Torah, in the Tanakh.
No, Torah Chadasha is in the Tanakh. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what, unfortunately, that's what the Christian use for their,
Right. So that's
whatever.
I said earlier that Torah Chadasha is something which is by us connected to Matan Torah. It's not something a new thing.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing to bring out. I'll bring out another point that the Torah Chadasha we're referring to here is mainly not in halacha aspects. It's in Torah Chadasha in deeper understanding. It's not that we're going to have new mitzvahs. It's going to be a deeper level of learning and understanding of Torah, a totally new depth with deep secrets of the Torah. But we have clearly that the Torah is la'ad. We know the Torah is la'ad l'olam elam. All the mitzvahs, the Torah mitzvahs will never be batal. It doesn't mean that Mashiach will come, we'll have new mitzvahs, and these mitzvahs will go away. Adrabah, the Rambam writes, the whole idea of Mashiach coming is that we'll be able to keep all the mitzvahs of the Torah. We right now cannot keep all the mitzvahs. We'll be able to keep all the mitzvahs, ki mitzvahs esaynecha, all the Taryag mitzvahs, the way we're supposed to have a Beis Hamikdash, be able to bring karbanis and keep Shemitah and Yovel and all the mitzvahs. So it's not Pshat Torah Chadasha that we're taking away Chas v'Shalom the mitzvahs. Pshat is that we'll have a new Torah, new understanding and depth of the mitzvahs and understanding of everything we're learning. Deep secrets of the Torah we'll be able to understand. But not that Chas v'Shalom there'll be new mitzvahs, new Torah. However, this episode itself, it's not pshat. It's this episode of Yas and Shara Bayer. What the Medrash is saying is not that it's a new Torah and it's Chas v'Shalom against the old Torah. Again, the new Torah means relative to our understanding. It's going to be shown that the Rebbe one time said an inkling to what could be the new Torah over here. How could such a shechita be good? I have here that Yoel pulled up the pasuk. It's in Yeshaya, the parak in the Aleph Dalid. It's in the Medrash says on this pasuk, Amar of Avin Amar Kahana, Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu Torah Chadasha Mi'iti Teitzei, Chidush Torah Mi'iti Teitzei Hashakoyach.
Mm-hmm.
L'maise, it doesn't mean the Rebbe said that even this episode with the Levias and the Shera Bird, it's not pshat. It's going to go against Hilchas Shchita. Not pshat that we're saying that all the Hilchas Shchita that we have till now doesn't apply, and we have new dinim. No, all the dinim will apply. It's just that it will be revealed a method of understanding the halachis that will see that there's a heter and there's a way how this is okay to do such shchita and sakasha the shchita. The Rebbe gave an example that maybe we can say that shchita, all the halachas of shchita that are said in dinei shchita only apply to an adam when an adam shechts. But when the shechting is being done by the Eibishter or by the Levyasin shechting, it's a different type of shchita, and the halachas are different. Meaning, we have to find always a way how to make sure that things that we read about when Mashiach is going to come, different medrashim, different gemaras, it clearly should not go against the concept of the nitzchis of Torah, of Torah being everlasting. The Rambam clearly writes that a mitzvah will never be bottled. So it's not pshat that mitzvahs will be bottled. This that we find that says certain things will be bottled, certain svarim, certain mitzvahs. It doesn't mean literally, but it means like the already Rishonim explain, and I'll just say it over in the Nusach that Chassidus quotes it, that there will be so much great oil that the oil of the mitzvahs will be like bottle in that oil. It's like lighting a candle in the sunlight. Is the light of the candle not there? No, the candle's there, but you don't see it because there's so much light shining from the sun. So we'll have such great gilui, it'll be bottle, but it won't disappear. It will always be here to stay. And any things that we read about in Psukim or in the Torah that seemingly seem to be that some way halacha will be changed, we know we have to understand it in a deeper way, that it's not in a way that goes against any halacha. This is clear from all the poskim that we don't, Chas v'Shalom, expect Torah to change. So when we say chadasha, it means relatively speaking to our understanding, it will be it's such a deep concept that we never could have thought out of on our own. And relatively speaking, this is considered a very big chiddush.
Maybe he mean there that it'd be easier to learn Kabbalah when Mashiach come, be like Torah Chadasha, like something new, like everybody can learn.
Yeah, there's different perushim.
Rabbi, I have a question on the tefillah.
Sure.
Yud Gimel Medaka Harachamim on Shavuot. Is Chabad does not say it, and if so, why not?
Chabad says it.
They do say it. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You mean when we open the Aron, right?
Yes.
Yes, Chabad says it. I'm pretty sure we have it in the Siddur. I'm just going to take a look. Always good to take a look in the Siddur. Yeah, and every Yom Tov we say it one time when we take out the Torah.
Okay.
Now, okay, going further, we know that every Yom Tov and every Shabbos, there's an inyan to take in Shabbos and Yom Tov early. There's a mitzvah to take in Shabbos and Yom Tov early. Some people even daven. Not only they take in Shabbos and Yom Tov early, they even daven Ma'ariv early, and they eat earlier. Although the minig of Hasidim is not to do that, Hasidim in general, not only Chabad, Hasidim in general, daven Ma'ariv Bizman, even on a Shabbos and a Yom Tif. However, there still remains a mitzvah to take in Shabbos and Yom Tif a little earlier. There's an inyan to Moisef Mechayil al HaKodesh. But Tefillah, they were makbid to daven because Api Kabbalah, according to that result, there's an inyan of davening Ma'ariv Bizman. So Api the Mekubalim. However, when it comes to Shavous, everyone davens Bizman. Even those who usually daven Ma'ariv earlier on Yom Tif or on Shabbos, they also as well will take in not taking Yom Tif early. Reason being is because they want to have a full, complete 50 days of Sfiras HaOmer. So we don't daven early and we don't make Kiddush earlier. Now I come to some shuls on Shavuos night and I see them waiting extra long. There's no reason to wait extra long. If your shul always waits, it says Sekichavim an entire year, there's no reason to wait any minute more than that. They're like machmer, and the many Chabad shuls, Chabad shuls anyways daven always on Bizman of Bizmanoi for Ma'ariv and Shabbos, they daven by Tzei Sekichavim. Mitam al Kam Shavuos, they're waiting, 10 minutes, 50 minutes, I'm not sure why they're waiting. You need to wait till it's dark. You wait anyways till it's dark. No need to wait Shavuos extra. It's just those kehilas that normally daven Ma'ariv early, don't daven Ma'ariv early for Shavuos because you want to have Tispru Chamishim Yoim on complete 50 days. And if you take in Shavuos early, so it's as if you've sort of like taken away a part of the 49th day because it wasn't a complete 49 days. And by the way, this is only referring to Ma'ariv and Kiddush. Stop refraining from doing a malacha is a mitzvah to Moisef Mechayil ala Kodesh. The mitzvah same in HaTorah, according to many shittas, to add time to Yom Tif or to Shabbos by not doing malacha. But not doing malacha is not davening Ma'ariv and Kiddush. There's a big difference. Refraining from malacha means that it's still chayil, it's still weekday. I'm taking part of my time, my personal time of chayil, and I'm making a kodesh. I'm not going to work. I'm not going to do malacha for 5 minutes before, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I take some time and make kodesh. Davening Ma'ariv or making kiddush is another level. That is making a statement that not only you are not doing malacha, now it's Yom Tov already. I'm saying Mekadesh Yisrael v'Hazmanim. It's Yom Chag HaShavuos Hazeh. It's Yom Tov Hazeh. I'm saying now it's Shavuos. I'm saying in Kiddush Mekadesh Yisrael Hazmanim. I'm making a statement. I'm taking upon myself the kedusha of Yom Tov. Moisim Mechel HaKodesh does not mean you're taking on the Yom Tov yet. It means that I'm not doing malacha, and that's something which is always important to do. That's a mitzvah same in our Torah. People forget that we're so much in our Shabbos rushing and doing things late. Shabbos at Yom Tov, we forget that we should stop before a few minutes. There's no clarity as to how long before, but a kapanim, minute, 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes before Yom Tov Shabbos and say, I'm not doing Malacha, I'm going to kabbalah myself Shabbos.
Rabbi, why do we have to wait the second night till late? Well, if we do the first one for Tzimimim, we did it. Now the second night.
Good question. So the second night is different. The second night is pasha because people you cannot cook until it's nightfall. You cannot do any malacha till it's nightfall because you can't make hachana, prepare for the next day. So in England you could actually daven Ma'ariv earlier, but since you have to anyways wait for everything, so people wait till nightfall to daven. Because you have to wait till it's dark in order to light candles and to start cooking your food, but it's not for the reason it's mimis. It's a good point. It's not for the reason it's mimis. Obviously, yes, another question, yeah.
There's another question. I know this is a halacha shir tonight, but can you tell us quickly, if possible, why it's mentioned 50 days to count in the Torah, and also it's mentioned 49 days?
I don't know. It's a good question. I think it's a Chassidus question. Or drush. But you're right. It has to do maybe with the fact that we count the 49 days, but through the count, and Hashem does the 50th. But through us doing the 49, we're bringing down the 50th. But we have to look into that. It's a good question. I don't know the answer. Now, the first night of Shavous,
Maybe you would have to come up with a new midah.
a new midah. We are noyig. Many are noyig.
I remember some sikha that when Bnei Israel went out from Mitzrayim, he took him the 49 Shari Tumah. And the Rebbe says if you stay there one more day, you fall into the 50, you can't do it. So that from the Rebbe side, he said in the Torah, Tisperu 50 Yom. I want you to get to the level of 50. But from our point of view, we could get to 49. Mashiach will come, we'll be able to get to the 50. If I remember this sikha.
Okay, shekayach.
Yeah, nice.
And Maisa, to conclude with a little bit more another halacha, the minig is, like we all know, the minig is for many to stay up the entire night to learn Torah. The Iker Asik should be in Torah Shabal Peh. Now in the morning, if you stay up a whole night, you don't make the bracha al natilas yadayim in the morning. You also don't make a bracha on your talis cotton, which you were wearing a whole night. Now, our minig is that we say minig of Hasidim and Svardim, I believe. Rabbi Azar is also true. Also by Svardim, they say tikkun.
Yeah.
So Svardim and Hasidim who follow Kabbalah say tikkun al Shavous, which I think was set up by the Shalah HaKadosh to set up, say different parts of each part of the Torah, all parts of the entire Tanakh, parts of all the Mishnayos, and a part of Zoyar, and all the mitzvahs, and the entire Megillas Rus. The whole Megillah of Rus is very connected to Shavuos, that she became a Giyotis. So we read the whole Megillas Rus. Some Kehilas and Minik Ashkenaz, they read it a B'tzibur, they read Megillas Rus. We just read it, and part of Tikkun Lo Shavuos, we read it to ourselves. It is well known.
Rabbi, it was one Leil Shavuot in Bet Torah and Ocean Parkway, was Rabbi Elia Abadi was the rabbi, and he's a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And each person read a part. So we were like 100 people there, and each person read a part. His part was Hatov Shebarofim LeGehenam. The best of the doctors go to Gehenam. So everybody look at him. You a big doctor, what it is? So he said something very, very nice. He said, every doctor, even though he believes in Hashem, he knows everything Hashem does, every operation, but in slight second he think, oh, I did it, my hand did it. Kochi ve'otzem yadi. So he said, this is why it's written there, Hatov shebarofim lagehenam. I remember that like today.
There's a lot of pirushim in that Chazal. Yeshakayach. The Maisa, the minig is that we say the Tikkun al Shavous, and also the minig Chabad is that in the morning we go to the mikveh in the morning before dawn, before Aleis Hashacher, we go to the mikveh.
Is this Rabbi Eruv?
Yeah, but what did we do
Eruv
this
there?
year? No mikveh this year.
This mikveh, yeah, I don't know what's going to be.
There's the Eruv, right, Rabbi, this year? Eruv?
No,
No.
no. Today is Friday. Shabbos is the second day Shavuos.
Okay.
So Sunday is Isur Chag. What will be with the mikveh? What will be with the davening? I don't know. I hope that will.
If you want to walk to Ocean Parkway all the way to the end, the beach, by the beach over there, and
Has anyone tried that?
only in the morning nobody is there.
No, his question was, do you have to make Erev Tashelin?
Or what?
Yeah. I don't know what's going to be with the mikveh. I hope things are going to change.
We do have to make Erev Tashelin.
No Erev Tavshilin this year.
Right.
Why Shavuos is Thursday, Friday, no?
Oh, right. I'm sorry.
Friday.
Yes.
Yeah.
We do. 100%. My mistake. Yes.
Whoa,
Friday, Shabbos.
okay.
Yes, we do need to make Erev Tavshilin Thursday and Shavuos. We need to make a Tavshilin to cook from Friday to Shabbos. Yes. Thank you very much for bringing it up. And we also have to make sure that the food that we put up, besides from making the Erev Tavshilin, we also have to make sure that the actual food that we put up to cook for Friday night is cooked. We should try to make sure it's fully cooked or at least halfway cooked before dark, before sunset. Let's say we're putting up the cholent or the soup, cholent for the day. Friday night, we're putting up soup for the night. So when we put it up on Friday, we make sure that the food is fully cooked or half cooked already before Shkia comes, because it's not enough just to make an Erev Tashilin. The main thing is to make sure that it's already Roi Lachila on the first day Yom Tov. It should be ready to eat, that in case someone would have a guest, theoretically, you'll be able to serve it to his guest. So therefore, it has to be ready. Then it's not considered like you're preparing for the next day. And the Erev Tashilin is also important. You need both.
Two shilling, right?
Yes, you take a challah and you take a bilkala, a challah.
Egg.
Take take a piece of fish. You could take a piece of gefilte fish, and you put it away and you eat it on Shabbos. Some people keep it for Shalosh Shudas on Shabbos. You don't have. If you don't eat it, it's okay, but it's a mitzvah to eat it by use the challah as part of the lechem mishnah, and eat it by one of the Shabbos meals.
So, Rabbi, the question of not being able to cook for the second day, what about if a person cooking for the second day, but he's eating from it?
So that is different. If someone cooks, let's say someone cooks on Friday morning, they cook their meal for the Yom Tov meal, and they added more food to the pot and therefore they wanted to have on Shabbos that extra foods. That would be okay under certain cases. You're not allowed to go specifically and cook for the next day, unless you follow these, the Erev Tavshilin. Unless you have an Erev Tavshilin. If you have an Erev Tavshilin, then you're allowed to specifically say, I'm going to put up this cholent in the soup for Shabbos. It's not considered being preparing from Yom Tov to Shabbos, since you have two things. Number one, it's roiv to eat today on Friday already. So theoretically, if I had more guests, I can serve them some of this food. So it's sort of like it could be made for today too. It's not like I'm preparing for the next day. And number two, you have the concept of the Erev Tashilin. Both of those permit you to cook specifically for Shabbos. However, if one would not have an Erev Tashilin, one would have to do other types of tricks in order to have food available for Shabbos. Other types of methods. As well, the Rav of a city, when he makes the Erev Tashilin, the Rav has in mind everyone. So you're not allowed, also to rely on the Rav. You have a chiyuv to make your own Erev Tashilin. If you forgot and you weren't negligent, you can rely on the Rav's Erev Tashilin. But if you were negligent, you're not allowed to rely on the Rav's Erev Tashilin, and then you have more of an issue and you'll have to eat someone else's food. You will have a big issue in cooking, or you'll have to make a pot, which you're cooking anyways for that day, and add some extra food. It gets complicated.
Also, on Shavuos day, are you chayav to eat meat and a dairy meal?
Is
it a chiyuv like that?
Yes, you should eat meat.
Isn't the Shulchan Aruch like that?
Yes, you definitely should eat meat. People in America, it somehow became a minig where people feel that slowly the milk meal edged away the fleishig meal to the point that people don't even have fleishigs. It's not correct. Really, it's supposed to be the opposite. Really, it should be that you should have a little kiddush of milchigs. You have a little kiddush of milchigs, and then an hour later, you sit down and have your fleishig.
An hour later, eat the suda, the fleishigs. That's what I do.
But if either way, if for some reason you're not doing it, and the balabasta wants to have a real fancy milchig meal, kol hakavod. But later on, you should have a piece of meat later on. So theoretically, the real optimal way of doing it, but I'm just saying not to make any shalom bayis machlekes. I'm just telling you that in your mind, you should know that the optimal way of doing it is to have some mezainis, some cheesecake you don't wash, just to have like a kiddush, have some cheesecake, some milchigs, blintzes, whatever you're going to have. And then you later on, an hour later, you have you wash and you have your fleishik soda. Now I'll tell you something, what worked for me a lot, instead of waiting the full hour, you don't need to calculate the full hour from benching to the washing. You calculate the hour, the halacha, you calculate the hour from your last bite of cheesecake till your first piece of meat. So let's say you're going to have some cheesecake, some blintzes, you're going to make your ala michya, you finished it, and you want to now wash for the next meal. You could wash right away now, wash and have the next meal. You can have challah, your fish, your salad, your soup. As long as by the time you take your first bite of meat and chicken, you're already an hour from your last bite of milchiks. You can't have them in the same meal. You have to bench in between the meals. To mastic between the meals, you need a bench. However, you don't need to wait the hour from after the benching, the hour and before the washing for challah for the next meal. The hour is from the ending of milchiks to the eating of flesh. So people like to have salads and fish, and they sing zmiris, and they sing songs, they say divrei Torah stories. The hour goes very quick. By the time you clean up the milchig kiddush and you set the table for the fleshig, you can go wash right away, and you have your salads and fish. By the time you have it, you don't really have to wait much to start your fleshig. So you're able to push them together much more.
Can you tell them about the davening on Shavuos day, because we can't go to shul? I think you read Akdamas or something.
I have to look into it. I don't know. You could read. I assume you could read Akdamas yourself. I have to take a look. If you need a daf say it at Sibur, I'm not sure.
Lubavitch says Akdamas?
No, Lubavitch doesn't say Akdamas, but actually the Rebbe would himself say Akdamas, personally would say it. His father would say it, and he would say it quietly to himself. But as a tzibur, the Olam didn't say it.
So where do you find that?
The Rebbe himself, it's actually published in the Siddur. The Rebbe would,
in the Siddur.
In our Siddur, it's published.
Has it.
Yeah, the Siddur, the Chabad Siddurim also have it. They also have it, and the Rebbe would actually sometimes be doirish and expound on different words in Akdam. It's a very holy song.
I was once in Lubavitch Yeshiva in Ocean Parkway. Used to be Rabbi Oretz over there, Alav Shalom. And before Shavuos, he give us a shiur about the Akdomas. It's fascinating. It's so nice, the Akdomas. Every line over there, this is a very, very deep explanation.
Mm-hmm.
But people don't realize how deep it is.
What page is the Hagdamas in the Lubavitch Siddur?
I'm taking a look.
It's there. It's there. The Agdomis is there right before Kesater. You'll see.
Yes, it's there somewhere. Oh, right here, page 5. In the Siddur I'm using, it's 503, the Siddur with the Hillim.
Right.
It's right after, right before the Kriya for Shavous. So right after Pesach, Haftorah, Achir Shel Pesach, before the Kriya of Shavuz, you have the whole Akdamis.
Right.
All on the Seder of the Aleph base.
Yeah.
Ibn Gabirol, I think. Right?
Some Kehilas have a minute to read it in middle of after they say the Berachas HaTorah, in middle of the Aliyah. I don't know if Kehilas do it today that way, but that's what sometimes the Shulchan Aruch.
The Yekis.
The Yekis do it that way?
The Brocha, Kesater, he say this and then he read the Torah.
In the Siddur that has the annotated, it's on page 517.
Okay, so you have an English explanation over there. You could read through it.
Well, I don't, not this one, but I guess I do have some.
Oh, the annotated doesn't have, but the English one should have. But it's a lot of deep things. And it might not be so easy to understand what it's talking about.
Maybe next Monday we do the shir about the Akdamot in English.
Find on YouTube a shir on it. You'll see it's a fascinating song. It's every word of here. It's unbelievable. Really, it's really, really nice. I remember the shir was like, wow.
The people need to they need to remember that they shouldn't get mixed up with their challahs. If they're using challah for the milchik, they can't use it for the fleishik. If they're using challah for the fleishiks, they can't be eating that same challah with the milchiks.
Yeah, you shouldn't use the same belchalas. You're right. Good order. Very good point.
I'm remembering all the time, all these things.
Rabbi, Dalet Sivan was good days. You know that? To the world.
What happened?
Rabbi Sasson came to the world.
I was born.
Mazal tov. Mazal tov.
You're turning 50?
37. You know, somebody asks you, how old are you? How old are you?
What kind of present the Torah for your birthday? The best present.
Man, we opened the whole shuls. You know, if they ask someone, how old are you? If he's 50, but he feels like 30, so he's really 30, not 50.
That's true.
I feel like
what happens if you're 50 and you feel like 100?
This is only magician can do that.
All right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
During Matan Torah, there was a mitzvah to stay away 3 days away from your wife.
Does this apply today?
Why was it three? Why was it three? Oh, okay, that's another question. But why was it 3 days? Usually it's 24 hours for the woman not to have the zera, but why the 3 days?
3 days.
Should she be impure for 3 days?
Because after having relations, the zera can come out from her during those 3 days afterwards.
Oh, 3 days.
If she doesn't become pregnant, it leaves, and it makes her tame when it leaves. So it takes 3 days for that
3 days
to be pure.
Okay. Right. Today, for someone today to do that, that's something more of a midas chasidis, someone on a little higher madrega, that they also not mishamish for the 3 days before Shavuos. And by the way, the whole Leil Shavuos also, if someone has it's a Leil Tavila, so obviously they do not come to the shul that night. It's not a chiyuv. It's just it's a minhag to stay up. If someone can't for some reason, they can't come.
Thank you very much, Rabbi.
Rabbi Sasson, you're not allowed to retire. You know that. No retiring.
What's that?
I saw recently, someone showed me a few clips put together from the Rebbe instructing people who asked him about they want to retire, how to retire. He did not let them retire. He told no retiring.
Retiring is only from work, but to serve the Hashem and to do Torah, you never retire. You double and triple.
Amen.
Amen.
Bye.
Amen. Amen. Listen, should be a Kabbalah Satayra, the Simcha Pnimis, and we should have hopefully this Shavous already. We should have the Hizgalas Mashiach.
Amen. Alavayo before.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank
Oh.
We're still gonna have a shiur next Monday, B'ezrat Hashem.
Yeah,
This
Gdamot.
Friday is Yom Yerushalayim.
Yeah.
That was very good.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Greenwald. Mr. Greenwald, have a nice evening.
You too. Everybody have a good evening.